We do want to talk about security measures because the Super Bowl, so many people watching it, so many people on the ground. Security, such a high priority for the NFL. We want to bring in right now Dr. Alex Del Carmen is a criminologist, and you are leading the School of Criminology at Tarleton State University in Fort Worth. Thank you so much for joining us here on Live Now from Fox. And undertaking the Super Bowl 58 must be a massive undertaking. What kind of security measures are put in place, and what's a priority there in terms of security?
Thanks for having me. Well, look, the national security priority today is all eyes and all hands on deck with the Super Bowl. It is equivalent in terms of security protocol to the inauguration event that we have every 4 years for our president, or perhaps even a visit by the Pope. Those would be analogous to what's happening today. So the entire Department of Homeland Security, the Federal Bureau of Investigation, along with state and local law enforcement agencies from throughout, are involved in a very serious, methodical protocol to ensure that the lives of the people that are there attending the game, as well as the players, are preserved and that it goes without a hitch.
Yeah, I think Patrick Mahomes would appreciate the comparison to maybe he is like the Pope, and just in terms of security there is a very impressive sight, and that is impressive to hear. Just in terms of Las Vegas as a whole, because this is the first time Las Vegas is going to host a Super Bowl, and we know all about sports gambling, about the casinos and the security measures that are put in place there. How much does Las Vegas change the dynamic, or does it at all?
Every city changes the dynamics, right? Whether it's in New Orleans or Miami or Dallas, and in this case, Vegas, because of its accessibility by other people. But think of it in terms of like the physical security, as well as the things that people are never going to see, especially those that actually attend the game. So you're going to have the presence of drones. You're going to have hotlines for people to report anything that looks suspicious, air quality controls to make sure that no one is trying to poison the air, physical presence of monitors all over the stadium, as well as outside the stadium, the presence of personnel, both uniform as well as undercover, cameras on site, the areas, as well as social media sweeps, right? Like, so think of it as having folks all over the United States in law enforcement that are constantly monitoring all the social media outlets to ensure that if there is a threat that seems credible, it's going to be reported and it's going to be responded to accordingly.
Yeah, and you mentioned the cyber component, because I think as we continue to move and technology gets more and more just prevalent everywhere, and of course, the less cash, as COVID kind of showed that it became less cash friendly as well. Maybe how strong is the security measures in terms of cyber? Maybe how much force is there amongst police, and how many people are dedicated to the cyber component?
I would say in the thousands, right? So you're going to have not only FBI, but also Department of Homeland Security, possibly Secret Service, every federal entity, as well as just about every local and state component within the state of Nevada, as well as the city of Las Vegas, are going to be involved in one way or another with the cyber component. And the reason why is because we're going to be concerned about not only our own domestic actors, but we're also going to be concerned about foreign individuals that are going to be in foreign lands that are not friendly to the United States, that are going to want to sabotage in one way or another the game, right? Because all eyes from throughout the world are going to be observing that game. And what a better way to show the world that we are not a secure nation by virtue of, say, turning off the lights or doing something more drastic than that, that will interrupt what will conceivably be the center of attention globally. And so we are very concerned about that. And there will be measures in place that people don't even talk about, because they don't even know that it exists.
Yeah, correct. And prevention is so key here to kind of get those threats before they become widely public and potentially impacting the event as a whole. We were talking with Matt Finn earlier, and he's at the game, and you can kind of look up and see potential drones, helicopters overhead. How has that changed the game in terms of security measures? Because now you can have personal public drones, and I know there's security in the air kind of zones are off limits, but that doesn't stop people necessarily from going there. How is that kind of impacted, and how do you kind of maintain the airspace around a place like Allegiant Stadium?
Well, last year we had the NFL reports to have had over 2,500 intrusions on drones on NFL games. 2019, when the pilots were flying with the flyby that typically takes place at the beginning of the game, they reported having seen a drone and they had to adjust their flight path. And so it is a concern. And as you can imagine, both the FBI as well as our national protectors and law enforcement entities, they have the ability of not only disarming a drone but also redirecting the drone. And so what they've done is they've actually placed a rule and a law that says you cannot fly a drone 35 miles away from the stadium an hour prior to the game. But I promise you that those things are being monitored as we speak right now, and especially during the game, just to make sure that either by accident or someone that purposely does this, that they don't interrupt the security protocol that is in place. There's a no-fly zone, just like the White House would be on a normal basis.
Yeah, makes sense. And I do want to ask you, before I let you go, one last question, because we heard from Matt Finn also talking about the heightened security level, as you already mentioned in this interview as well, and I think he said level 1 potentially. Maybe what does that mean in terms of security as well, and just based on all of the different entities that are involved?
So just imagine the President of the United States, the Vice President, and everybody else in the line of succession, along with the entire Congress, the U.S. Supreme Court, and everyone that matters in our government in the United States in one location. The type of security that would go there, it is equivalent to what's going to happen today.
That is very crazy to hear, and obviously we want to make sure everyone's safe. Some 60,000 people going into the stadium to watch the game. In terms of a message for a fan, it's a casual fan with $8,000 to get a ticket into the stadium. But maybe what's the message for a casual fan, knowing these security measures are around and in place? But what's the message to a fan that just wants to go and enjoy this game?
First of all, enjoy the game. Secondly, if you see something that looks weird, report it right away. There will be enough people undercover and in physical uniform that they're going to be able to receive that complaint. And thirdly, also understand that you're probably never going to be as secure, in a spot in your life as you will be this evening.
That is a very good, and of course, the defense on the field also hopefully heightened up against two very potent offenses as well. All right, Dr. Alex Del Carmen, thank you so much for joining us here. We appreciate your insight at Super Bowl 58 coming up in just under 5 hours now. Exciting times. We appreciate it.
Thanks for having me.